The following discussion is intended to provide a perspective and is not intended as professional advice. These are merely things I have found useful. Please consult a healthcare professional for advice on proceeding. Hi, and welcome to another episode of After the Abuse. In this episode, we'll be dealing with things like triggers, flashbacks, body memories, and different types of hallucinations that can result from PTSD. Dealing with triggers. So let's talk about triggers. More specifically, what to do after you've been triggered. The best thing to do is to wait until you're alone or in a safe space, and then reflect on the time when you were triggered and think of what were you feeling in that moment. Was there a smell in the room or wherever you were? Was there a sight, a sound? And try and isolate that. And once you're aware of what that trigger is, you can potentially be prepared for it in the future.
There are certain triggers out there that get me, like wind chimes. I can hear wind chimes and I'm back to where I was when I was a kid. Because outside the window where the bedroom, on the front porch, she had a lot of wind chimes. And when the abuse was happening, that's what I concentrated on. Trains. Because where that house was less than, just very close to the train tracks. I remember trains going by when it was happening, and I would concentrate on that, anything to keep from concentrating on what was going on with me. I can hear that and it brings back memories, but I've learned how to control them after a while. It wasn't easy.
Once you've identified what the trigger is, you can do something like a word association. Let's say you're triggered by something like a knife. Every time you think of the word knife, think of the word cat. So if you get triggered by knife, you're automatically thinking about cats. How to cope with shadow hallucinations. Now let's talk about something I like to call shadow hallucinations. I don't know if this is the technical term for it or not, but for me, it's the best way to describe it. What I'm talking about is these type of hallucinations, for the most part, usually consist of a shadowy figure in a humanoid form that you see briefly in a flash out of the corner of your eye, and it can be very startling. They can often be triggered by a sound or a smell or anything that's associated with the trauma. And they usually occur in times of high stress. And when you're going into recovered memories and dealing with abuse, there's definitely a lot of stress. So for me, I have to be prepared for this type of thing. And basically it means training your mind and body to not react to absolutely every little sudden movement. In a way, it's kind of like a flashback, but it's not actually a memory. I guess the best way to describe it is you get triggered and suddenly your body is flooded with adrenaline. And sometimes that adrenaline causes you to see things that aren't there, even if it is for an instant. That's what a shadow hallucination is like. So I guess the best thing I can say about this is to just be prepared for them when you're in a high-stress situation. I'm curious to see if anyone else has experienced this and what it is that they do in this situation. So please leave that in the comments below. Dealing with resurfacing memories. Something that I've heard from many survivors, and I've said it myself, is I remember everything about the abuse. I have 100% recall. And then someone says a word a certain way, or there's a smell, there's a sound, there's a feeling, and all of a sudden, there's something about the abuse you'd completely forgotten about. And in that moment, your world seems to turn on its head, as it were. And suddenly you're faced with all these new memories, or new aspects of the memories you've already had. And if you're not careful, delving too deep into these memories too quickly can be re-traumatizing. So be sure to talk this out with your therapist or with someone. You have to have someone that you can talk to uncensored. It's very, very important that you have this.
I had done this show, and I was talking to my older sister on the phone, and she had also been abused. And she said, I guess you don't remember. I heard you saying that this ended after a year. You do remember that he was able to come back and take each one of us alone for child visits. So our mother let him do that. That was a moment when all of a sudden these nightmares that I thought I just made up in my head about later years being raped by him, all of a sudden they became memories, and the memories came with other memories. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, he raped me for like 2 or 3, maybe 4 more years. After all this healing, I had another hard time with this new information, to the degree that, yes, those had been uncovered memories because of what she had said to me. They'd been triggered. But in my mind, I'd been saying in the show all along, I don't have any uncovered memories. I remember everything. And it was while I was telling the audience about this phone call that somebody during one of the feedback breaks said, isn't that an uncovered memory? And I'm like, oh my God, you're right, it is. I'm so sorry, you're so right. And this happens to me all the time in the show. Like I'll discover things because somebody will say something. And I'm like, oh my God, we just put those 3 things together and I just realized that.
Oftentimes when we recover these memories, or these memories resurface, it can feel like we've taken a giant step back in our progress. The important thing to remember is sometimes you have to take a step back in order to move forward. The mind will remember things when it's ready. So this just means that your mind, or you, is ready to remember more. And as intrusive as this can be, it can actually be a weight off your shoulders in the long run that you didn't even know you were carrying.
The good that came out of that is I finally understood what was going on. I understood all of those feelings that I'd felt for years. I understood, but it also was the point of, hey, how do I deal with what I discovered? That's what I've been dealing with for 23 years.
Dealing with flashbacks and body memories. So what do you do if you're having flashbacks or body memories? In that moment, the best thing you can do is remind yourself, sometimes out loud if you can, that you're safe now. That this is just a memory. This is something that happened in the past, that you're all right now. You may have to repeat that to yourself several times. With body memories in particular, you actually feel the physical sensation again, or at least your body thinks it is feeling that physical sensation again. One of the things that helps me is doing a grounding technique, like with rings or textures, feeling them, make that your sole focus until the flashback or the body memory passes. Well, that's all for this episode. The next episode will be another interview episode. We'll be interviewing Dion Ford. Have a good day and take care of yourselves. If you're looking for resources on helping yourself or someone else who has gone through abuse, you can visit rain.org. Or, for resources specifically for men, go to oneinsix.org. If you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, please call one of the numbers in your area on the screen.